welcome to Behind the Whites. I'm Jim Bailey. We've got Chris Hyder alongside as well, and we've got plenty to get through in this show. We've got 2 games to look back at. We've got 2 games to look forward to. We've got new signings through the door. We've got plenty to talk about, haven't we, Chris? There's been loads going on.
Yeah, it's been non-stop, hasn't it? Pretty much since the time we exited last Thursday. Where can we start exactly? On a good point.
Well, we will. I think we should start. I think we should start with the news of the new signing that came through the door. But just before we do that, as always, a big thank you to all of our partners here, of course, at Bolton FM and Imagination Street, where we record this wonderful podcast. And earlier on, while I was waiting for Chris to get here, I was just chucking a few arrows, just getting a bit of darts in. So there you go. I mean, that's not actually what they do. That's just an optional little thing you can do when you're on a bit of downtime.
They've got a pool table.
There's a pool table. There's an arcade machine that I couldn't figure out how to turn on. So if anyone checks a CCTV for tonight, you're going to see me looking really confused at an arcade box before thinking, I'll just play the darts instead. But I did fix the darts, so there you go. It wasn't all bad.
That's your good deed done for this one.
And I turned all the lights back off. So
there we are then.
But there you go. If you want a bit of training facilities, if you want corporate space, a bit of office stuff, or an event space, do have a look at Imagination Street. It's a cracking facility. I mean, you can do this with a green screen. Well, you can't see the green bit. You can see the graphics we've got on, but you know it's there. Giving away all the magic. Anyway, let's get down to business and a little bit of Wanderers chatter. And of course, there has been a new signing through the door. And, well, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, I mean, strictly speaking, there have been 2 new signings, haven't there?
Yes, actually, technically there have. I just thought one had already been done.
Tyler Miller, admittedly, he'd been on trial with the club, hadn't he? He had turned out for Notts County last season, was between the 6 for that ultimately unsuccessful push for a place in League One, fell to AFC Wimbledon, who Bolton will be coming up against. Probably not in the not too distant future.
No, it's very soon. I wrote it on the whiteboard at the station.
Well, it says it's very soon, but it's probably going to occur during the international break, isn't it?
Of course.
So that'll probably get put back. Oh, I might entirely be wrong, and it does go ahead on the 6th of September.
We shall see, but there you go. If you weren't aware that is an international break, you are now.
Yeah, Tyler Miller, though, American goalkeeper. Yeah. I mean, the club, do you think they've done this again, where they've lulled you in because they'd said, oh, by the way, Stuart Holden's going to be our special guest in the pre-match hospitality.
Stuart.
And as luck would have it, on the day of the match, it gets announced, weird time, 10:15 in the morning.
Yeah, we've signed. We have signed the American goalkeeper, and yeah, I thought that it had already kind of been done because, of course, he was at the open training session and bits and pieces. But no, officially done, officially on the dotted line. In fact, has now played a game for the club as well. But there you go.
Yeah, indeed, he made his debut in the League Cup game against Sheffield Wednesday.
We'll get stuck into that in a little bit.
We will. And then around about 5 o'clock, well, the club did it again. They ended up announcing, oh, by the way, this is what we've got on offer vis-a-vis the pre-match hospitality. And if you looked in very carefully, you zoomed in at just the right time, what it ended up saying, a Sissoko mixer or something like that.
Something like that, yeah. They love chucking in just a little Easter egg clue, don't
they? They do. Admittedly, Ibrahim Sissoko.
Yeah, going loco, Ibrahim Sissoko. If you score a goal, I'm telling you, it's going to be a smash hit #1.
You see, if that's not turned into a chant in the next few weeks or so, then
it's got to. It's a classic. Anyone called Sissoko gets going loco down in Acapulco. It's the way it goes. It's like an unwritten rule of football. And hopefully we'll hear a good chorus of that while he's putting in some great performances.
Yes, indeed. It's kind of cool that Bolton have got another option on the left wing now.
Yes.
Thierry Gale, more on him later on. And now Ibrahim Sissoko. Mario Coolsey-Dubry, I think he's pretty much making the right wing his own, isn't he?
I mean, prior to his cold dead hands, ain't nobody getting hold of that while he's playing the way he's been playing at the start of this season. Someone panicked actually because they said it was a 6-month loan, and I was like, and then I looked into it, I was like, no, it's fine. Yeah. Season long, we're okay, we've got it for the season. But it's the old adage, isn't it? Don't fall in love with loan players. It's already too late. It is what it is. The way he started, absolutely phenomenal. And if he can have anywhere near the impact that Coolsey-Dubry or Thierry Gale have had, then I'll be absolutely over the moon because they're very, very tidy players, and he looks like another useful lad.
I mean, Sissoko already got experience in English football, turned out for Plymouth and for Sheffield Wednesday.
Worked under Schumi before, so he knows what the script's going to be in terms of working alongside the manager, what the expectation's going to be, and how he's going to go about his business, and hopefully that'll mean that he'll just fit straight into the way things are going to work. And when he does get those minutes on the pitch, he can come on and have an impact.
You'd like to think that would be the case, bearing in mind how busy the opening weeks of the season customarily are. Again, one of our matches we're looking ahead to will be Reading, which will be next Wednesday.
Another Wednesday game. We've got a Thursday game coming up as well, I think, in a few weeks' time, have we? I've seen on the... I was looking into some of the dates for the fixtures because somebody asked me if I was available on a Saturday to do a wrestling commentary. I was like, it's a Saturday, I've got to check Wanderers, and I looked.
Oh, wait, yes, I know exactly what you mean.
We're playing on the 16th, not the 18th.
Well, maybe we will, maybe we won't.
Oh, right, so
again, might be an international break because the Burton Albion game that's scheduled for...
International breaks, just causing chaos.
Well, the plan apparently is that if the Burton game does go ahead, then the Huddersfield game at Huddersfield's place will go ahead on Thursday the 16th of October. But if the Burton game doesn't go ahead, it'll just be revert back to Saturday the 18th, 3 p.m. kickoff.
Right, there you go.
So there you are, you're up to date now.
I mean, I'm not. That's really confusing. I don't know why they have to be so confusing about things. But hey-ho, we'll see how things go. So I don't know what's going on with the fixture list, which is great when you're trying to make plans around.
Yeah, I know.
Be right, won't it? Anyway, back to the new signing, just to cap that off. Hopefully it's going to be a positive one. As I say, I worked with the manager before, and I've already said that. I lost my thread though when I got all silly with the fixture list. Anyway, 2 games to talk about. Plymouth Argyle were the first visitors to the Touchy Community Stadium of the season. Wanderers' first home game. Well, it went quite well with a fairly routine victory, and a lot of people, I think, were going to be, before the season started, were looking at this Plymouth Argyle game as a game that, again, was a game that could set down a bit of a mark and give you a bit of an expectation for the season. I'm not sure if it does, because Plymouth did look a little bit,
Well, that's just it. Post-match interview, Tom, cleverly their manager now, ended up saying we didn't react well enough. Really, Tom? Teddy Sharman-Lowe didn't have a single save to make, and you're telling me that you felt as though your team didn't react well enough? Yeah, no kidding.
And they had a lot of the ball.
You never would have guessed.
No, and they didn't do anything with it, and it was... They looked toothless in possession. We didn't have much defending to do. However, when we had the ball, my word, did we look dangerous. We looked like a tasty proposition when we were in possession. And we said after that game against Stockport, we were doing the right things, we were getting the ball in the right areas, we were creating decent chances, we just weren't finishing them off. This time around, 2 in the back of the net, and you got us gold.
Yeah, that's just it. First goal in the 20th minute, something like that. Owen Toll, what a way to mark your home debut as captain.
Yeah, banging header as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely terrific. Mind you, the delivery was top notch as well.
Yeah.
Because you can have that thing, we saw it last night in the League Cup game. Great delivery in the area. George Johnson makes the connection, but somehow sends it across the face of the 6-yard area. I've not seen that done in quite a while, I have to admit.
Yeah.
But that didn't matter last night. On Saturday afternoon, Bolton were looking okay. There wasn't really anything to separate the two sides. And then once that first goal goes in, I just never felt as though Plymouth were going to do anything.
No, we couldn't. Again, despite having less possession, we controlled the game. We dictated the pace. We dictated the pace. We had all our own way when we did have the ball. We got in through the middle. We got in down the wings. They just didn't know how to deal with us, and I think that's positive going forward. I still want to see us really stretched at the back and perform well. And I think last night's game was a difficult one because we did down to 10 men. Defending is always going to be a little bit more difficult because they've got the extra man. Obviously against Stockport, it was 2 kind of defensive errors that cost us. against Plymouth, there wasn't a right lot that the defence could have done wrong because they didn't have a great deal to do, which is, no disservice to them. What they did have to do, they did absolutely spot on. You can't whinge at a 2-0 result, but I do want to see us tested at the back and come through a bit of a trial fire, because we've not seen it yet this season, but albeit 2 games in, and obviously last night it wasn't your first 11, so you can't really fully have said that last night was really being put to the test. But that's, I think, what I want to see. But going forward, man, we look absolutely naughty. We look like it's a little bit. We're just going to be too much for teams. We're going to be too much for some teams, and with the likes of if Cozy Dubry continues to play like he's been playing, we could have turned teams apart. Because he has been tearing everyone he's played against. At some point, he has just gone, right, I'm just going to tear through you now. And obviously against Stockport, we didn't convert it into anything. But last night it had an effect when he got involved, and at the weekend, I just thought he was absolutely fantastic. He didn't put a foot wrong. His touch was brilliant. His attitude was brilliant in terms of wanting to. Every time he got the ball, he was like looking to go forward. He was looking to make something happen, and I've missed that. Under Ian Evatt, yes, there was a spell when Ian Evatt football was being very successful for us and we were getting good results. And I'm always one of those that I would rather see us win than play really entertaining, attractive football and get beat every week. But if you can do both, if you can play entertaining football and win games, then you're absolutely laughing. And I think with players like Cozy Dubry, you've got the opportunity to do that because they're exciting every time they get on the ball, because they want to get forward, they want to make things happen. When he gets the ball, there's nothing in his first instincts of, well, I'm just going to stop here and have a look and I'll just play it sideways, or I might just knock it back in to keep the ball steady. Just get forward. I'm going to bomb down the line. I'm going to try and get a ball in. I'm going to get down. I'm going to cut inside. I'm going to try and get a shot off. That's what he's thinking. He's looking to score or create a goal seemingly every single time he gets the ball. And those are the kind of players that fans love, because it's exciting and it's exhilarating to watch. And when they pick up the ball on the halfway line, you get that little buzz from the crowd that spurs a team on. And it's been a long time since we've had a player that I think has really epitomised that.
He is.
Since Sapo, I think.
But he is one of those players, the second they're on the ball, you get interested.
Yeah.
You can kind of be passively watching a game, and then the second he receives the ball, you go, oh, hang on, we might be doing something here. You get more and more out your seat.
Yeah.
And then he provides either that pinpoint pass or that pinpoint shot, and you're going wild.
And the thing is, you can get players like that don't necessarily have the end product, but they still have that effect on the crowd. I remember when, back in the day, when Burnden Mendy used to get the ball, he didn't score a single goal, he didn't get a single assist, but when he got the ball and bombed down the wing, people would go crazy, and it lifted the team and it scared the defence. And so the next time he got the ball, if he did play it inside, nobody was expecting it, and he was always someone that could drag a man, because once he'd got at you a few times, you can guarantee the left back would be stuck to him, and so he could then drag that left back all over the gaff, because he was then like, I can't let him get the ball because he's making things happen, even though he actually never really made anything happen.
Can you imagine that, being a left back in the day in the Premier League? You struggle with Burnden Mendy, and then you've got to deal with JJ Okocha.
Exactly.
Oh, it's his birthday today as well. Or was it yesterday? It's the 14th today, so yes, it is his birthday. Many happy returns of the day, JJ.
Hey! I mean, one of the finest players we've ever had, to be perfectly honest with you.
Do you know, 21 years ago today, that was my first game as a season ticket holder. JJ, you remember, he didn't score in the Premier League at all in 2003-04, but he more than made up for it with those goals in the League Cup semi-final against Aston Villa. And then opening match of the season against Charlton, ends up scoring a couple of goals, one of which was a brilliant free kick.
It was just an absolute sensation. There's very few players that come onto the level of what JJ brought to this club, and I think you can count them on your fingers. And it's the likes of Yuri Djorkaeff, it's the likes of Campo here, or I'd put Nelka, Davis, Nolan, Speedo, the decent chunk, but it's all kind of from the same era of that full on, when we were I didn't really appreciate it, you know.
I think we did take it for granted, it has to be said.
Because you're in it, you live in it, and when you come back and you have the perspective of, oh no, we slid down the leagues, and yes, we're rebuilding there, but it was a magical time, and it's great to look back on, but it's almost like, I wish I'd have appreciated it more when it was here and now. Because you just assume that things are just going to keep on getting better and better.
That's always the danger. And then all of a sudden, you either have nothing to show for it, or you're so far down the ladder that people who only focus on the top tend to forget about you. It's not right that it's like that, but it just is that way. But we have gotten a bit sidetracked. Mason Burstow opened his account for the club. How bizarre did you find it that the ball got forward very quickly indeed? How many passes did it take to go from Teddy Sharman-Lowe to Mason Burstow? Was it 4 or 5 passes?
It was something like that. I mean, I've not counted them, but it was lightning fast. And again, compared to what we have been watching in previous seasons, it was quick enough to make your head spin. You know, it's been a long time again since we've regularly been looking to get the ball forward so quickly and so effectively, and just we've got the ball now, we try and score. We've got the ball now, we try and score. And all right, when we're leading in a game, which we've now seen this season, you don't have to be quite so hell for leather. But having said that, Plymouth, the way Plymouth were playing, you had to go at them because they were like kind of.
What fair point.
They seemed a little bit stunned that we were just so easily getting through them, and we just seemed to knock them further and further back.
It surprised me how straightforward it ended up being. Teddy Sharman-Lowe, I did have to cheekily ask on Tuesday prior to Sheffield Wednesday, has he been kept busy in training? He said, yeah, he's been absolutely fine.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Which is, it's good to hear. It's not as though, Teddy, just go over there a little bit. Oh, if you want to ping a ball onto Chorley New Road.
We've got Plymouth at weekend, you can just have a week off, mate. No, it's not going to happen, is it? It's not going to happen.
No, of course not.
I'm sure Plymouth will go into the season. Of course, if they're struggling come January, I'm sure we'll see some incoming signings.
Well, yes. They might be like sorting something out for all we know right now.
Exactly. But a belter for Danny Rowe, because, of course, he got to wind up his family members down in Plymouth. So Danny Rowe was very, very pleased about that. And, great to get 3 points on the board. First home game of the season, especially after losing the first game of the season. You don't want to lose the second. You bounce straight back. Good result, solid result, and on to the next. And of course, all right, in some terms that's the weekend, but in other terms it was last night, which was that League Cup first round game against Sheffield Wednesday. Sheffield Wednesday on a Wednesday.
You couldn't write it, could you?
Well, I don't know. Crazy Ted Lasso did at some point, so there you go.
One last thing, and I just remembered I put this in the notes.
Oh.
Do you remember there was a story that came out on Saturday night after the game? There was talk that Xabi Sean.
Oh, of course, yes.
It looks
Sean's
like
gone.
Well, apparently he has gone.
It's looking that way. Sweden, is it?
Yeah. AIK Stockholm. Although it was confirmed at the presser on Tuesday, he's carried on training with the squad as normal. So until that transfer goes through, Xabi Sean will continue training with Bolton Wanderers.
I mean, it might still be, down to personal details. Maybe he doesn't fancy going to Sweden.
I don't know.
Maybe he doesn't like meatballs. I don't know.
Maybe it just feels as though that. You said it in the group chat, didn't you? There's not.
It could just be stalling. Because he had a gander on his weather app and was like, mate, I've been in Bolton for how long? And we finally get a little bit of sun. I'm going to enjoy this and then I'm going to go to Sweden. So maybe that's what he's thinking. But we'll see. And it's one of them with Xabi Sean. I thought he was I think he's a decent player. But he
doesn't fit in anymore,
he doesn't really fit in. And I think there were points when he did push forward last season where I was like, he could work as a winger. But when you look at the other wingers we've got in the team now, shoehorn him into a wing position, it's probably not going to be best for him, it's probably not going to be best for the club. And if he's not going to get the game time, then for his own career, he's better going elsewhere. But he seems like he's got a great attitude, he always grafted, always put in 100%. We've got some good performances out of him last season. He was not one of them players I was looking at and pointing the finger at saying they could have done better over the course of last season. I thought he always put his graft in. I think wing-back's a very difficult position to play at the best of times. But when things aren't going well, I think it becomes an even more difficult position to play. So fair play to him. If he does end up sticking around, I'll be like, fair play to you, mate. You graft, you try and earn yourself a spot in this team, whether it's at fullback, whether it's at winger. But again, if he wants to go elsewhere and get first team football, he doesn't want to hamper his development or whatever, then crack on. I've no problem with that whatsoever.
Yeah, I don't have a bad thing to say about him either. I can testify to the fact that I've interviewed him a couple of times prior to matches last season. And yeah, always coming across as a good egg in my experience. And you kind of do need that a little bit. There was always that thing with Bolton. It's a good team, but they're just too nice. Shabby Sean, I think, if you really pushed him, really pushed him, you could aggravate him a little bit. Maybe he just doesn't want to stick around because John McAtee just lifts him up at random.
Maybe.
John was doing that, wasn't he? In that good part of Stephen Schumacher's early spell.
Yeah, I do get the impression that when the club put out stuff on socials and bits and pieces like that for him in the training ground and all that kind of stuff, and when they like behind the match day videos, whenever Shabby Sean seemed to be on it, he was always doing something a little bit mad. He was always messing about, being silly, and it really endeared him to me as a character. And you need that in any team. You need the light-hearted players, the players that can be light-hearted and can, lift the team spirit when things are going a little bit dry or whatever. I think you saw that with James Trafford and with Conor Bradley and their little bromance that they had going on. And that lifted the team. A lot of the other players, especially the younger players, got involved in all this silliness and they'd all have little silly things to say about each other. And I thought it really helped harness a really good team spirit, and hopefully we can keep on doing that. And so if Shabby is going, I think we need to make sure that there's a couple of people still in the squad that are a little bit silly, can be a little bit mad every now and again, and lighten the mood and be that kind of energy in the dressing room.
I quite agree with that. But again, if he does end up staying, I will support him to try and fight for his place back in the team and just work and graft, so that maybe he can provide something to this new system that Bolton are getting their heads around. And
Absolutely.
Believe it or not, in spite of what happened in the League Cup game, I think Bolton are coming to grips with it more and more. Maybe it's the fact they've treated a pre-season as like a competitive environment.
Yeah, and the thing
That's
is,
why it appears to be bearing fruit.
It is, and again, last night, going forward, especially considering we were down to 10 men for the majority of the game, we were brilliant. We looked, again, dangerous every time we went forward. We were putting good balls in. We scored 3 goals with 10 men. Well, we scored 1 with 11 men, but...
No, all 3 goals came with 10 men.
Yeah, you're right, absolutely right, they did. So we scored 3 goals with 10 men. We've been dragging about all over the place, positionally. They couldn't handle us on the wings going forward, especially once Kozajuri was added to the mix.
Mm-hmm.
And that goal he scored at the end was absolutely just a worldie, just an absolute peach. You ain't stopping that.
I put Thunderbolt in my notes.
Just an absolute belter. And fair play to... I don't want to... I'm going to go on about defending, right? And I don't want to take anything away from Chef Wednesday. A young team, a second string of the young team, which doesn't shine a great light on our defending last night. However, they grafted, they kept working, they never gave up. Every time we dragged them back, their first thought was, well, let's go and take the lead again. They were definitely helped out by some absolutely biz defending on our part. I thought the first goal was an absolute worldie from them, an absolute screamer. Yes, Dakaris Cogley's been caught in possession. I'm not sure if he's got a shout. He doesn't seem aware that someone's bearing down on him out of his vision. I don't know. I assume he got some kind of awareness from the crowd, because the crowd usually be quite on it. But he's lost possession of the ball. But it was a good challenge. He's caught him. But what a hit! You lose the ball there usually. You think, well, you've got another phase of play pretty much to get the ball back. Yeah. Not in this instance. He's absolutely tanned it. Keeper's no chance. We're 1-0 down early doors, and you're like, oh God, this couldn't be much of a worse start.
Yeah, and then, you know what? I think Dakaris Cogley's kind of responsible for the red card happening, because he ends up losing possession Wednesday get the ball forward into the penalty area or just outside the penalty area. Inwood makes his challenge, straight red card, and that's his marching orders. You could tell he was annoyed by the fact that he had been sent off. But in the office, admittedly you saw it at half time on the monitor and you agreed with Danny and Dane, and you said, yeah, that's a red card. I wasn't entirely sure. My thinking was that it looked like Farino could have ended up stopping the attacker getting through on goal. That's why I felt Inwood was a little bit harshly done by.
It could be argued that maybe there was a chance, but I think if he's not been taken out there, he gets the opportunity to get the shot off immediately if he carries the ball forward, then I think Farino's got every chance of catching him and stopping him before he does release the ball. But if he hits it on that stride, then he's got a clear shot on goal, and that, under the letter of the law, is a clear and obvious goal-scoring opportunity, and thus, because it's not in the penalty box, it's a red card. If it had been in the penalty area, it's a yellow card, because the penalty is deemed as such a punishment anyway. You're being punished twice if the penalty goes in and you've lost the match.
So that's what double jeopardy means.
Yeah, it's to stop you getting punished twice for the same offence.
I kind of think.
But if you bang in the free kick, that has no bearing on it, because that's not deemed as being quite an obvious opportunity to score, I suppose.
All right.
Well, it's not, is it? I don't care who you are, who you've got in your team. A penalty should be easier than a free kick because there's not a wall in the way. It's just you and the keeper, 12 yards. You're closer in. There's no wall. It's easier, and so I get where they're coming from, and I get how it's a double punishment, but it is a slightly bizarre rule sometimes when you see instances like that. And I think that it wasn't a red card offence. I felt it was an honest attempt to get the ball. That's where the double jeopardy doesn't count, by the way. If they just kick him over or he punches him in the face, something like, it has to be an honest attempt to get the ball that goes wrong.
I think Sam was trying to win it, but
absolutely he was. But under the letter of the law, sadly, it is a harsh red card, but it is a red card.
I have to admit,
we shouldn't. Let's be honest, right? We were playing a second-string youth team almost in terms of what Sheffield Wednesday put out.
Oh, by the way, Dacres Cogley, I should know, he was playing left back when, admittedly, as a fullback, you ought to be comfortable playing either side. But Dacres Cogley is not comfortable on the left at all.
No, keep him on the right.
And it's those two instances that ended up costing Bolton twice.
Although
he did make up for it by setting up the first goal of the night.
And that's
and what an assist it was for us, 2-2.
A beautiful ball, and you can't really go wrong with that. But yeah, this is where my concerns lie at this moment, because I've said we've not passed a trial by fire in terms of defending yet. We've lost 2 games, we've conceded 3 goals. Yes, with 10 men, but we've conceded 3 goals to a team that, in reality, when you look at that team sheet, we shouldn't have been conceding 3 goals to. Again, yes, it makes it difficult with the extra man, but if you look at the goals we conceded, I don't think the extra man made a massive difference in the actual goals, because we just got caught out. We just got caught out with some poor defending when we'd switched off because we'd scored. Other than the first goal, which again, an absolutely cracking strike, but their second and third goals, we've just scored and we're just not switched on. And Stephen Schumacher must have been pulling his hair out, because that's the simple stuff. That's football 101.
That's exactly what he said. You have to remain calm for the next 5 minutes after you score.
Your most vulnerable point in football is just after you've scored, because your head's all jolly robbins, you're not concentrating, you're still reliving that little moment where the crowd have gone booler, when everyone's celebrating, you're back, yes, we're back in it. No, you're back on 0-0.
Yeah.
That's what you've got to be in your head. You've gone back on it with like nothing, just boom, focus, go again, because that's what can happen. And to have it happen once is bad enough, but to have it happen twice in the same game, honestly, I'd have been kicking boots around me. I'd have been throwing a water bottle in that dressing room being like, what is going on?
I can't decide whether the second or the third goal is worse to watch back from a defensive point of view.
Bad, but this isn't what I'd say is the first team defence. Obviously, it was a bit of chop and change last night. Maybe there wasn't quite that communication or quite that, that almost psychic knowledge of, well, he's going to go there and he's going to go there and I'm going to fill in here, because you've just done it together so many times that you all know where each other are going to be and where ideally you want to be positionally in terms of defending, and I think maybe that cohesion wasn't there with it being a little bit of a bitty team. But we can't defend like that going forward. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. It's the League Cup. We're never going to win the League Cup. You know, the League Cup dreams in tatters. You know, I really would have enjoyed to get Leeds at home. I thought it could have been a really good earner for the club to get a bit, to get a Premier League team there on a Wednesday night under the floodlights, good atmosphere. Leeds always bring the crowds. That would have added to it. Sadly, not going to be. But it's a game that we don't have to play. It's a game that's not in the fixture list now to knacker the legs.
All right, yeah.
So
if you want to put it like that,
there's a silver lining, but obviously I don't want to lose. You know, when that goal went in last night from Koza Duvry, I was up on my feet screaming in the office because I was, not only was it an absolute screamer of a goal, but we'd rescued the game.
Yeah,
albeit momentarily, because of course we then went out on penalties. But
do you want to say anything about Thierry Gale's goal, the second equaliser?
I mean,
that was a very nice strike indeed.
Yeah, the wingers that we have brought in thus far have been sensational.
I think Gale...
That's why I'm excited about Sissoko, because it's a signing that Schumacher understands. He knows him, he's played for him before, so he must know what he's going to add. And I think we're just going to get more of the same, and we're going to get somebody that can come on and swap with, with either of the wingers, really, because I'm not bothered whether you're right or left footed. I think there's a job you can do on either side. But it's someone you can bring on with fresh legs who could maybe have that impact and has that pace. So we will see. I'm excited to see what happens.
See, this is interesting you bring this up, because he did bring up the fact that apparently Koza Dubry had a bit of a groin strain from the weekend against Plymouth. And he was just asked, are you all right to play tonight? He said, yeah. He said, well, he must have been fine because he was able to whack it quite well. Which was a great line, he said to Derek. It has to be noted. And yeah, whether or not he is going to be fit to start against Barnsley at the weekend, maybe that's why Sissoko's come in. It seems a risk to putting a new signing straight into the starting 11. I don't actually know. Maybe
I always like to put him on the bench when I'm on Football Manager, because as we know, that is
it's the best way to bed him in.
As we know, that is an insight into the real world of football. But it's just, you see it so often, don't you? New signings come in and they start the first game on the bench and then they're introduced into the team. It usually means that they not only do they get the chance to sit and watch what the team are doing for a certain amount of time, because we don't. Sometimes they come in not with enough time to really train with the team and stuff like that. Obviously, that's not one of these cases, but it can be the case in a lot of signings. But it also means that when they come on, they get that moment where the crowd can give them a cheer, that cheer onto the pitch, a round of applause, new sign, and everyone. And it'll lift, as long as you get that reaction. If it's a player that the crowd hate and they all boo you coming on, I'm sure that's miserable. But I'm sure it's very rare in football that the debuting player gets booed. Give them that cheer, give them that lift.
I wonder what it'd be like if Sam Cosgrove signed for Bolton.
I would have loved Sam Cosgrove to come to Bolton, because the thing is, you have these players.
Would Owen Toll love it?
I don't think Owen Toll would care. They're professional footballers. These things happen on a football pitch. It's not the first time Owen Toll's been hit with a little bit of a frustrated, angry, nasty challenge. It won't be the last. I'm sure as a professional, he's not that fussed about it. He's healed. He's cracking on. Whatever. If Sam Cosgrove came in to be your teammate, it'd be a matter of, right, I know you can be, a dirty get, so how can that now benefit us? Gary Speed said it back in the day when he talks about El Diouf. We don't really see eye to eye, but he's a fantastic player. It's not the way I play football, but he's a fantastic player and he does good stuff for this team, so I'm not going to knock it. And that's the attitude I think that you've got to have as a professional footballer, generally, if you're in a team with somebody. Even if you think they're an idiot, as long as that is benefiting your team, then whatever.
I know you did that point about what it feels like when a new player comes on. I had forgotten about the Plymouth game. You saw Ethan Erhan and Charlie Warren come on. It was only for about 5-6 minutes or so, but at least they got the chance to experience the on-crowd for the first time.
Almost got on.
Oh, yeah, and both of them ended up starting. Charlie nearly ended up scoring a very cheeky little goal from a rebound effort. And Ethan had a couple of very good efforts in the first half that was saved by Charles.
I don't think there was any problem with us going forward, and I think had we had that 11th man, I don't think there would have been any.
We surely would have,
because I think we'd have just scored more goals. That's where I think that not having the 11th man really affected us because we got hit on the break, and what annoys me is yes, right, with a man extra, you are going to be susceptible to being hit on the break, but it's like we've just scored now. We've literally just scored down a restart. How have we been hit on the break? We're not even going forward. And yes, again, the extra man is going to make a bit of a difference, but I still think that the players on that pitch should have been able to deal with that Sheffield Wednesday team. And it was defensively where we let ourselves down. But it is what it is. We'll move on. And as I said, it's a cup game. The league's the bread and butter. And going on too far into cups, as much as it can be great, can also be detrimental because you're putting more minutes into those legs and you're giving players more chance to pick up injuries. And we've seen how badly a couple of seasons ago that can affect a squad.
Well, do you remember the Port Vale game in the trophy, Dan Lundulu? It was a bizarre injury to pick up because he'd run in for a rebound on a penalty that they then had to retake and ended up missing. And it's kind of great. We've ended up having to retake a penalty. It's been saved. Oh, and Dan's injured. Yeah, very sadly, whatever momentum he'd gained ended up just falling by the wayside, and
he struggled to re-establish himself when he came back in.
Yeah, and it feels as though
But that's the difficulty with long-term injuries. If you have that long-term injury and somebody comes in and replaces you, and they're actually like really good, or they're putting in really good performances, you're going to struggle to get that place back. And because you're coming back, you're not coming back at full fitness. You've got to wait till you get your fitness back. It's then very difficult to displace somebody in the team if they're playing well. It can be a killer. So. Look, not having another League Cup game, it's a game off the fixture list. Again, as I said, Leeds could have an opportunity, but whatever. We crack on. We've got games, though, of course, to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm glad I brought up the EFL Trophy because we've got the fixtures unveiled. Mm-hmm. I'm very happy with the fact that all three of them in the group stage are 7 p.m. kickoffs, which means early finish.
Yes,
fantastic.
Yes, I won't be waiting over buzzes at 11 o'clock.
No, you will not. That's one of the nice things
That's
about it.
I got over it, but still. It's decent. It makes it easy for families as well if you want to go down. They're usually cheaper games, so if you're looking to take your kids to a game, they've not been to a game yet, or they've not been to many, get yourself on the club's website, make yourself a member, and you can take the kids there. They're usually pretty cheap, those group stages. It's usually like a 10 or a 5 and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think 10 for adults, 5 for concessions.
So there you go. Take your lad down, or your wee lass down for a fiver and have a nice night.
I'll try that again. Tuesday the 2nd of September, Rotherham United at home. Tuesday the 23rd of September, Man City's under-21s, again at home. And the last one, Tuesday the 11th of November, Oldham Athletic away. See, I got exactly what I wanted.
That Burnden Park.
I got exactly what I wanted. I get Man City's under-21s at home, and Bolton for the first time in, more than 4 years will go to Burnden Park.
Yeah, coldest ground in the country.
Allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly the coldest ground in the country. I went once and got sunburned.
That was winter, was it?
Yeah, winter in Oldham I got scorched, honestly, it was great. No, it was a pre-season charity game. Back when they had the Troubles, Oldham, the first set of Troubles. And it was Millennium Magic versus Wembley Wizards. And I went wearing a Wanderers shirt, I believe.
How did that go down with the faithful?
They loved it because it was a Save Oldham Athletic game. They loved the fact that fans from other clubs had come and helped, trying to help keep the club from tumbling down the tubes, which they did, and then they managed to not go down the tubes completely. Of course, they did get relegated to the non-league a couple of years ago, but they're back in the Football League now, and it's great to have them in the trophy. And one of my friends, Simon, is a massive Oldham fan, season ticket holder, so. Bit of balance going on there as well, so hopefully I'll be able to be the one giving the stick rather than the other way about.
Does that mean we can give 2 lots of stick to Haaland then?
Oh, we could. Oh, potentially. It's not bad refereeing. Way! That is big news. Of course, Manchester City's kids and Oldham in the same group. Haaland could be in for some stick twice going, and that will be wonderful. But we will see. We will see. Of course. We've got 2 games to look forward to at the weekend. Not 2 games at the weekend, that would be ludicrous. But 2 games to look forward to over the next week before, of course, we stick out another one of these.
Yeah, indeed. Barnsley on Saturday.
Oh, it was a tough game, the Tykes.
Yeah, I know, and look how well they have begun the season. See, it's an interesting scenario in that Conor Hourihane, like Stephen Schumacher, came in, admittedly later in the second half of the season, but like Shuey, he's had a full pre-season to get in the players he's wanted. He's ended up discarding those who he feels as well.
System.
That's just it. And so far, they've won both the league matches. They had a great turnaround against Burton last Saturday. And that's the really weird thing about it, because Barnsley, since Bolton went there in March of last year, they have stunk the joint out at Oakwell. But the fact they ended up winning the first league game of the season on home soil, massive difference. Last night they ended up getting through in the League Cup on penalties against Fleetwood Town.
Yeah.
And they also have a Yorkshire derby to look forward to against Rotherham.
Yeah, they do. And
so a lot of momentum going Barnsley's way at the moment.
Absolutely, they've been a decent side at this level for a good chunk of time. They've often been a thorn in our side where we've been gunning for promotion, playoffs, etc. They did, as you said, have a bit of a dip, but it just shows, as it has with us, that when the manager gets the opportunity to properly instill his system and bring in the players that suit it, it makes a difference. You look at people were questioning Schumacher a little bit towards the end of the season because things had dropped off, but when you look now at how we approach the game and you look at the squad we had then, you can absolutely see how it wasn't going to compute if he tried to do things his way. He didn't have the players for those roles to play the way he wanted to play, so he had to just do what he could with what he had until the end of the season. And once that kind of new manager lift simmered down a little bit, it did seem to stay out a little bit. But we've had a complete clear out. The way we play seems to be completely different. It's very refreshing to watch. Again, I want to see us put in a solid defensive display, but where else, we're better, not many places, to be honest with you, than Oakwell to go and do that and show that we are a defensive unit that ain't to be messed with.
I'm hoping it's a far better performance and result than back in April when you could tell there were two teams who were just looking at their watch thinking, is it the end of the season?
Yeah, it were done. It were done. They were on Eds.
Oh, and worse, Barnsley won 4-1.
Eds, they were on the beach. Both teams, I think. A lot of players, I think, in the Wanderers setup were looking around going, I'm not going to be here next season. I know I'm not going to be here next season. I'm not going to fit into what Schumacher wants to do. A lot of them probably already knew, like they probably already spoke to him and said, look, enjoy your last few.
Jeez, that sounds sinister the way you say it.
Enjoy your last few games, boys, because you're off. But, whatever. Maybe they knew, maybe they didn't. But you just got that sense of it was just the season had finished and the players were like, there's nothing to play for. The motivation's low. I get it. I understand why. It's not nice to see as a fan, but when you're striving for a goal and striving for a goal and striving for a goal and suddenly that goal's not there anymore, but you've got 3 more games to play or whatever, you expect it. You see it every season from loads of teams. Nothing to nothing to gain, nothing to lose. Just
I wish
let's not get an horrible injury that puts me out next season. So
I just wish Bolton had played with the kind of freedom that Barnsley had, because they knew the season was over.
It can have a good effect mentally sometimes.
They just decided, you know what, screw it. Let's just try and end our season on as good a note as possible.
Yeah, and fair play. But this season now, I think it's another one of those games. I remember when the fixtures were released and we looked at them and I was like,
oh no, not them.
Good God, that's a rough start to the season.
Although, the other way of looking at it is, thank God we've got that out of the way so early.
It gets it out of the way. If we can get points from it, that'd be great, because it gets it out of the way and adds to a positive start. It's going to be a tough game.
Yeah.
It always is.
Any Bolton fan who thinks that this is going to be like the visit to Oakwell last May, first leg of the playoff semi-final, or right at the start of 2023 where Bolton beat them 3-0 quite easily, I don't expect it's going to be as straightforward as you might like to think it is.
I think that if you look at that game, it's a fixture that's just not going to bear much resemblance to the fixture between the clubs over the past few years, because it's a completely different Bolton Wanderers versus a completely different Barnsley in terms of how the team have set up, how the team are playing, the mentality of the teams. I'm excited. I think it's another good opportunity for us to really see where we are. I thought that Plymouth, Plymouth might well be a great yardstick. We just don't know yet. We've lost that first game of the season but didn't look good. Then we've looked really good against Plymouth, but Plymouth lost their first game of the season. Are they actually that, is it that they're not so hot, or is it that they've just been well beaten by two teams that are going to be up there. You don't know yet. We'll wait and see. But Barnsley have started well, and it's at their gaff. I think it's going to be a tough game, and I'd be very pleased to come back from with a point in the bag, to be honest with you. But if we can go there and get all three, I'm going to be absolutely over the moon.
Yeah, I would be very happy indeed if Bolton were to pick up that first away win of the season. Admittedly, if they only get a share of the spoils, I'd still be okay. They just need something to take into the next game, which should be only a few days afterwards.
Yeah, another Wednesday game.
Yeah, Reading, who haven't begun the season all that well. However, at least they finally resolved that off-the-field problem. They've ended up getting rid of the Dye family.
Yeah.
And now they've ended up getting the former Wickham owner, Rob Coig, and his Redwood Holdings Group, I think they're called.
Yeah, hopefully he can bring back some stability for the club in the long term. I don't mind Wickham, I have no issue with Wickham, the other Wanderers.
Well, they were great to us when we were really in it 6 years ago.
Yeah, I have no problem with Wickham. They're a decent team. They're often rough and ready, they're often up there. They didn't have a great season last year, but...
Oh no, they did have a good season, didn't they? They made the playoffs at least.
Oh yeah, no, they did actually. They had a spell last season where they looked a little bit shaky, but they did, yeah.
But looking at Reading, they were quite close to making the playoffs. They just threw it away on the last day of the season.
Yeah, they were an interesting one, Reading, because they had an up and down season, but that's kind of an up and down season usually means that you'll be somewhere near the mix for the playoffs at the end of the season. And when push came to shove, much like ourselves last season, it just didn't work out. It fell away. It is what it is. Again, Reading's a team that in recent years we've had a bit of success against. It's also a team that we've been less successful against. It'll be a decent, hopefully be a decent game. And again, I think it's one looking at where we can get 3 points on the board though, because there's no reason to look at Reading and think this isn't a game where we should be going and winning.
What price do you think on a third consecutive 5-2 victory for Bolton at Reading, over Reading on home soil? I mean,
it'd be an interesting one. Maybe I'll put 50p on it or something. I don't know. I mean, it'd be mad if it happened again. But yeah, like I said, there've been some games, especially on our own turf, where we have absolutely walloped them. So it'll be an interesting one to see. But I don't know. I'm not going big and bold and claiming 5-2, although I might do it for a laugh on Saturday when we're on the radio, because I do get a little bit giddy when we get close to kick-off.
Yeah, you mean Wednesday, don't you, for Reading?
Wednesday, yeah. My head's in...
Yeah, I know.
Radio mode, yeah, Wednesday. If we do predictions, because of course that'll probably be another truncated show, but it's going to be another opportunity to get out there and get points, and I really want a good start to the season because it can be such a good launch pad, despite the fact that it is a difficult run of games. And these are two, even though we're early in the season, for me, these are two big games, because these are two teams that you look at and think Barnsley, I look at and think, especially at the start of the season, they're going to be in and around it. They're going to be one of the teams we're battling with up at the top end of the table if we're going to be there, which I very much hope we are. Reading are one of those teams I look at and think, well, they could be there. I don't look at them and think they're definitely going to be there, but I look at them and think there's a chance, because when things are going well for Reading, they do tend to do quite well. And as we saw at the end of last season, it was only that bubble at the end where it fell off.
It's interesting that, isn't it? So yeah, by this time next week we'll have covered both the Barnsley and the Reading games. Oh yeah, there is the small matter that the women get up in the weekend.
It all kicks off for the ladies' season. Of course, a division higher than they were last season. It's the
Premier Division Northwest Women's Regional League.
There you go. I never remember the exact ordering of the words because there's quite a few of them.
Yeah, indeed.
But a division higher, still high expectations. I imagine after a flawless season in the league last year, I think that it's going to be a very, very exciting season for the girls. I think it's going to be challenging. It's going to be played at a higher level. But again, we've played teams from this division or this level last season in the cup. We've got good results against them. There's no reason to think we can't be pushing on again and hopefully bothering them up at the top of the table. I'm not going to go wild again and predict that we're going to go and have such a great run, but I think we can definitely be looking at it and thinking we should be up there challenging, because just coming off the back of that season, I think that momentum drives them forward, and obviously there'll been more recruitment going on. There'll be lots of work behind the scenes with Miles and the team, and of course Reece in the reserves set up, and we've got players potentially coming through the ranks in the youth setup for the women as well, including one Miss Gardner. So it's going to be very interesting to see how their season progresses, and hopefully there'll be another successful one, and we can get some more good coverage of the women's season, because it'll be a cracker.
Well, here's something...
Or it could well be a cracker. I'm not going to say it will, but it could well be a cracker, and we're hoping.
Here's something that has happened as we're recording this.
Oh, there you go, you see.
Forwards in.
On the minute.
Evie Sadler. By the way, cheers for sending this to the group chat, Mark, when I'm unsure about trying to play a video and thinking, well, how's this going to come across on a podcast? But yeah, Evie Sadler, she had a spell with Bolton last season from Burnley. Yes. And yes, she will link up with the squad for the opener on Sunday, where they go over to Darwin.
Yes, indeed. A cracking facility, to be fair, the Anchor Ground.
Yeah, I have to admit, never been. I should have gone.
It's all right up there. I've
how many layers do I need?
I've coached on there, actually. When I was doing walking football with Age UK.
Oh, nice.
But it's a cracking facility, and if you are available to rock up to AFC Darwin, go to the Anchor Ground and watch Darwin versus the Bolton Wanderers ladies, then get on up there and crack on, because, like I said, cracking facility, great little clubhouse, and it'll be an entertaining day's football, I'm sure.
And then on Wednesday, they'll have the first home game of the season. I know I did this last week. It would have been nice if they'd done a double header at the Tough Sheet, where...
Yeah, with the game on the Wednesday as well, that would have been cracking.
Yeah, you'd have a 5:30 kick-off for Bolton Wanderers women versus their equivalents from FC United in Manchester, and then you'd have the men going on at 8 o'clock. That would have been perfect.
I think that would have been cracking. Yeah, it's a shame that they've not gone that route, because, of course, I'd have loved to have nipped down to Charlie. I had a gander at the first game of the season, but obviously I'm going to be on the way to Bolton to cover the Wanderers on Bolton FM, so it's not feasible, unfortunately.
I mean,
but it is what it is.
Theoretically speaking, it's not as though we won't be able to keep up to date. Without
we'll be able to keep up to date, but I won't be in Charlie.
No, indeed, but I think the FC United of Manchester one, I think, is winnable. Darwin, I think, could be a bit on the trickier side.
Yeah, they look like a tidy outfit, but we will see. Because again, as we don't know with this Bolton Wanderers women's team whether it is one of those teams that's been put together at a level that actually doesn't need too much tinkering to just blitz up a few levels. I don't know. I won't be honest. I don't know enough about the women's game to know intricately what the quality gap is between the divisions at the levels that we're at this moment in the pyramid. I don't know where the big jump comes. If there is a big jump, I assume at some point there's a huge jump in quality, but some of them might be smaller. So until we see them play, we don't know whether they've hit the level or they're still one of the top teams at this level. We will have to wait and see. But as we go on, it's going to be an exciting event to find out where that kind of, as most football teams, in the men's game, the women's game, any form of the game, when any team kind of powers up the divisions, there often comes a point where they slip into a wall and suddenly that progress becomes much more.
Well, you reach your level, don't you?
Exactly. Where suddenly the step up to that level is massive and you've got to get used to it. At this level, that might not be the case, but we're not going to know until we see them playing that competitive football. So this time next week, we might have a little bit of an idea of how it all might unfold.
Only a little bit, it should be noted. Because
yes, only 2 games in, but those early signs, and if we go out there and blow away both teams, we can be coming in and going, hey, this might be another tasty season for the girls to get stuck into and get a lot more success. We will wait and see, but we're very much waiting with bated breath, because last season was ace and we want more great memories for Bolton Wanderers women's team, and to get as many girls inspiring football in Bolton as possible.
Well, again, we said this last week. You think back to what has happened last month with England women retaining the European Championship title. I've got, and this is a cheeky little thing I'm doing here, if you're tuning in online at boltonfm.com on Saturday between 3 and 5, you see, we've got to do something different whilst the Bolton game's going on, because licensing issues and all that. Basically, I'm being joined by a few representatives from AFC Bolton. It's a Zoom chat we ended up doing a couple of weeks ago, where we just ended up talking about the good and the bad from seeing England retain that title. So that'll be something to look forward to on Saturday if you're tuning into Saturday Sport. And yes, we'll keep you up to date with Bolton's game against Barnsley. Why would I not do that?
Obviously, there you go. Well, yeah, that is the next choice item on the menu for Bolton Wanderers. Barnsley at Oakwell is going to be a very, very tough game. Any predictions, Chris?
It's a good point, that. I'd like to see him keep a clean sheet. I think you set the bar out for keeping as many clean sheets as possible. I always think the first 10 games of the season, you've got to be pragmatic. Bizarrely, I'm saying 0-0.
0-0.
Despite the attacking quality on display in both sides.
I'm hoping we're going to sneak it, cause you with an absolute perler once again. 1-0 the Whites, because I would love that clean sheet as well, Chris. So maybe it's a little bit of hopeful thinking, but that is where I will be going. Do we have any other business?
No, I don't think so.
Well, there you go. That is pretty much that from us here at Imagination Street for these wonderful, wonderful studios. So thank you for watching. A big thank you to Imagination Street, to Bolton FM, and of course to Bolton TV. Big up producer Mark, who's also coming in his shorts today. That is that for this week. Join us next week when, of course, we will be looking back at those games against Barnsley and that midweek game as well. Who's that against, Chris?
Reading.
The Royals from Berkshire. There we go. So plenty to talk about. Of course, we will have the women's games to talk about. So we'll be cramming loads in on the next edition. So do join us for that one. And in between time, show your mates, show your mum and your dad, your grandparents, your aunties, your uncles, people you don't know, anyone in the street, tell them, get on a little bit of this podcast. And as always, stay behind the whites. We will see you next time.